2018. If we could all stand and pledge allegiance to our flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tonight's agenda is pretty basic. The board will be going over the warrant. We will reopen the warrant for purposes of last-minute corrections. We'll motion that. We will review the warrant. The board will accept the warrant as it is in preparation for the annual town meeting prior to being posted. And then at the conclusion of that, the board will be going to executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30, Section 21, Exception Number 3, to discuss collective bargaining issues. At the conclusion of that, the board will re-adjourn at the fire station. We're meeting with members of the fire department this evening, so we will be conducting a follow-up over there. And obviously conclude our meeting at that location, and we expect to be over there about 7:30. Okay, gentlemen, if we are going to dispense with minutes tonight, this is an abbreviated meeting. Our administrative assistant, Sandy, is on vacation, and the town manager will be up shortly. What I'd like to do is ask the board for a motion to open the warrant from April 3rd to the 5th and close at 6 p.m. on April 5th. And that, again, is for purposes of making any final corrections to the warrant.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we open the town warrant from April 3rd to April 5th.
Okay. Before we get into the warrant, we also have a donation made, and I'll turn it over to Gary to read the donation and the amounts as an acceptance. The board is pleased to accept donations made to the town. So, Gary?
Yeah, these donations were in the name of William Quirk, who recently passed away. The first donation was from Cynthia and Walter Ramsey. The second one was from Daniel Hutchinson. Another one from Alan Doe. Christine and Richard, how do you pronounce that last name? Hoffpauser? Hoffauer. James and Diane Grant. Dennis and Judy Danbury. Betty Brooks. John and Karen Griffin. Robert, Ona Moore, Ellen McNara, Francis and Patricia Trivalilli. And the total amount is $1,265.
And that is a motion?
I'll second the motion.
And it is accepted by the board, and thank you very much. Bill was a neighbor of mine, and with regret, he passed away just over a month ago. So it's nice to see donations made in his memory directly to the Upton Police Department, which he was very fond of, and was an active member supporting the Men's Club and other organizations in town. Sympathies to the family, and thanks to the donators. So, are we prepared to go over the warrant, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
What I'd like to do is just go through the article. If you have any questions, just say hold. Other than that, we met with the Finance Committee was it last Wednesday, I believe, as well as members of different departments, and we went over the warrant and the public review, and there was commentary and some adjustments made. So, Article 1 is standard. Article 2, okay. Article 3, the water enterprise. Article 4, wastewater enterprise. Article 5, revolving accounts. Article 6, Finance Committee Reserve Fund. Article 7, the Regional Retirement System. Article 8, the annual road repairs from Chapter 90 funds from the state, from the Commonwealth. Article 9, supplemental appropriation to the roads of $530,000 from Mass General Law, Chapter 90 work. Article 10, and I'll ask the town manager, at this time you have a number of $150,000 for the deficit?
Yeah, that's a placeholder at this time. The DPW was hoping to have a more solid number by the end of this week. But the last time we looked, we were at 130 we knew, and then we still had some outstanding invoices that had to be paid relative to the salt and sanding, and we had a tree company come in to take care of all the hangers throughout town the last 2 weeks. So we're going to compile those last invoices and have a more solid number by the end of the week.
Okay, before we post, the number will be higher than anticipated, so you can always go down, not up.
Right.
Right. Okay, any questions, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Okay. Article 11, the OPEB, other post-employment benefits. Article 12, is for the Historical Reserve Account, Community Preservation for Historical Reserve, Open Space, Community Housing. Article 12 is another transfer, Administrative Community Preservation. Article 12C, again, Community Preservation. Article 12D is from the CPA Reserve Account, Open Space,
This-
Recreation.
The 12D one is, as of the meeting we held last week, where it seemed like there was an unfavorable vote to support the acquisition of that land. That was the former 12D, so that's been removed. And then it's been replaced with the recommendation to, for CPC to provide $35,000 to the Recreation Commission to develop a master plan. That discussion is gonna be held tomorrow evening in front of the CPC.
So, while you were out, we motioned to reopen the warrant and close on Thursday evening at 6 p.m., the 5th. So this will fit right into that agenda for possible change.
That's right.
Okay, thanks. Gentlemen, any questions on that?
No, sir.
Okay. Article 13 is the assist the Board of Assessors with revaluation. And they need the fees for a revaluation process. Article 14 is additional funding for the Conservation Fund in the amount of $5,000. Article 15 is the stabilization fund for the school, and this has been amended as well, Derek, based upon our discussion.
Right.
You want to?
We inserted it on the third line of the article. It formerly said stabilization fund. We then clarified that to make it read capital stabilization fund.
Right, and this was all discussion that was follow-up from our meeting Wednesday night with the Finance Committee, and the school committee representative was there, and others. Okay. Article 16 is for a truck, 5-ton dump truck. No
Yes.
question?
I
Yes.
guess a question on that. You know, typically, we take large expenditures like that, capital expenditures, and address those in the fall. What are you gentlemen thinking? I was just a little concerned, not knowing where we'll fall as far as tax rate.
As I
Free
learned, it
cash.
was the timing, if I'm not mistaken, they need the truck to be on the road by November for the snow season.
That's correct.
And if we wait till the fall, we won't have time to get the truck active.
From what I was told, they were taking the body off of one of the trucks, the stainless steel body we bought 2 years ago, and they're gonna mount it on this chassis. And if we wait till the fall, we won't have it for the snowstorms by the time they get it in there.
Right. And just if I could clarify, there's a misprint on there. It should read at $167,000 instead of,
167, okay.
And actually, the text reads $170,000.
it's picked up on that.
Okay, so with the correction to 167 and 170,000. And again, what's our final, we have plenty of time for post to this. It's not until,
We have to go to print with this by April 13th,
okay.
and then post it 2 weeks prior, Kelly? 7 days prior to town meeting.
So not to muddy the water, but if we approve this tonight, we're approving it upon conditional change of free cash or any others that may come up, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. All right, Article 17 is to amend the general bylaws for the Board of Selectmen for the appointment of 3 members to the Capital Budget Committee. That was sponsored by you. Any questions? Article 18 is to hire a consultant to develop short-term and master plan for town's recreational resources. I thought that was pulled off. That should be struck, right?
Which one of your,
Article 18, it still shows, it says 3,500, I'm sorry, I'm mixing them up. My mistake,
this is the e-permitting
for the record,
software.
I got Derek's attention. Yes, where they're printed on both sides. Yes, this is, again, Board of Assessors.
This is for the e-permitting software.
Right, correct. Article 19, this is Kiwanis Beach is to accept Kiwanis Beach Road as a public way, and we know that process has been conducted through Planning Board and others. Article 20, exemptions for gross receipt and wholesale limitations will assure applicants are eligible for exemptions as their assets increase due to inflation. That's sponsored by the Board of Assessors. Article 21 is the Planning Board is recommending amending the zoning bylaw to insert a new section regulating time, place, and manner of operation of medical marijuana treatment centers. Article 22 is originally proposed to the Personnel Board from Chief of Police, updating language relative to the effect of military service on salary, seniority, leave, and allowances. Article 23 is to establish and appropriate to a special injury leave indemnity fund for payment of injury leave, compensation, or medical bills incurred for those public safety officials injured on duty, and that's sponsored by the board. Article 24 are funds to be used to hire a consultant to investigate and provide a condition report on the roofs at the police station and fire station.
I do have a problem with that one, actually.
Okay?
When Representative Meridian and Senator Moore were here, there was some money that's earmarked in the state budget, and some of that monies, of course, was for the fingerprint machine, but there was also some monies regarding the roof, I believe, at the fire station. So I was thinking it might be a good idea to remove this article till the fall and see if that money comes through before we go ahead and study it. If there's money that's already appropriated for it, we could just go ahead and do the repair, as opposed to studying it and then do the repair.
So if I could respond, the money that Selectman Materne is referring to was a request submitted by the town, requested by Senator Moore for the bond bill. And so we had submitted close to $400,000 for upgrades at the Quandas Beach recreation area, and a few $100,000 to remedy some of our problems that we know exist at the two roofs, both at fire and police station, amongst a few other items we had submitted. We had submitted over $1 million worth of requests through the bond bill. And as Senator Moore and Rep. Meridian talked about, those are requests, and the governor has to then fund them. And so that's getting to the hard part, whether or not the governor will actually fund those requests. So although we put the money in, put the requests in, we're not sure if the money will come to fruition as of yet. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't know the timetable on when that money would become available, if and when.
Gary?
No, I was just thinking, because I talked to a couple people about this article, and I guess it's more of a study, like with the police department, whether to change it from a flat roof to a peak roof. 'Cause, I mean, personally, if it needs a new roof, just do it, and then cut the middleman out, is my opinion. But
That's kind of my
do we need
thoughts.
Do we need a study, like an engineer to say you can put a peak roof on it, or can a regular Joe Schmo?
Yeah, before I defer to the person responsible for facilities, yeah, you do need a study. The problem is you can't just go hire somebody to put a roof up without doing the investigative background work. In addition, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we all know there are processes and bids, and your bid needs to be specific. If you just put out a bid to do a roof, candidly, you're gonna get a roof. If you put out a bid with the proper specs and requirements, you're gonna get a roof that satisfies the need. We don't know the undersurface of that roof. If we were to elect to put another membrane on and just pay that cost and find out that the surface below it needed to be treated, we've got a real problem, because we've expended money and we basically put a raincoat over a bad roof. I've always been in favor. I consider $8,500 short money when your investment's going to be in the $100,000 ranges. I think it's prudent to do your work first. That's my own opinion. But gentlemen, it's a board of three. Do you have anything you
Well,
want?
I would only, since we're talking about roofs, costs of roofs, from my experience, the library in Plymouth has a rubber membrane flat roof, much like our police station. And the most recent cost analysis is that it's gonna cost $2 million to replace that roof. Now, it's probably 3 to 4 times the size as our roof at the police station, but it just tells you how expensive it is to replace rubber membrane roofs, that it's gonna be a $2 million roof repair just for one building in Plymouth. But, so I think that we would be fooling ourselves to think that it's only gonna be a $100,000 repair for that roof.
Yeah, I'll defer if, I'll recognize the facilities manager.
Thank you. I came over here so Glenn can hear me on the microphone. I will admit, I don't have the expertise to know what needs to be done with that roof to fix it, and just to develop the specification for $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 roof replacement. There's no one qualified in the town to do that. And it's not like you can go out and say to 3 roofers, what's it gonna cost to do this, because you're gonna get 3 different opinions. If you have a consultant that is objective and looks at it and understands exactly what needs to be done, then you can understand what the cost is going to be, and they're gonna estimate it. It could be the $100,000 that's been sitting in the capital plan for the last 5 years, or it could be $400,000. We really don't know, and there's no expertise in town to tell us that unless we have, it says study or a consultant or someone to come in and tell us exactly what needs to be done to repair that roof. Because there is leaks in the police station and there are leaks in the fire station, and those need to be repaired.
Because I know I even talked to FinCom, and they even talked about different types of roofs, even on the fire station.
Right.
That might give a longer life expectancy.
Right.
So I think,
It's the argument, regular shingles, architectural shingles on a house. Years ago, shingles lasted 20 years, now they should go 40. So it's the old, speaking for myself, I believe if you're gonna make an investment, make it long-term, and the town benefits to the duration of it. The other thing is to procrastinate on an expenditure like this. Time is money. So if we wait and let's say it's another year before if the state even does, and that, I wouldn't count on that, does grant the money, then you're 2.5, 3 years out, and then what happens?
Stan rates us the money, we just put it back in the account.
And just to add to that, if the bond bill was to come through, they would want us, I believe, and you can correct me on this, these projects need to be what they called shovel-ready, meaning they need to be ready to go in order to be funded. If we don't even know what needs to be done to repair the roof without the study, then we're not even close to being what's considered shovel-ready. And to go through the RFP process, we could lose our lining, we could lose our place in line for the funding. And so doing this allows us, it would be good for a year and it could be good for 2 years, 3 years to have on the back burner that when the funding became available, we would be ready to go out and bid it.
And I know roofs well because about 20-something years ago, I approved this building to become a historical building, so we'd get $100,000 for the roof. And when we remodeled the town hall, we incurred many additional costs because it was a historical building. So I thought we were saving money at the time, but it was whoops. So live and learn.
Yeah, the only reason I do support this is because we want to change the whole design of the roof on the police station.
This is possible. You
We don't
snow
know.
load,
We don't know.
You
Snow
wanna
load,
investigate it.
yeah, you don't know, right.
The fire chief, we've had to hire people to go and shovel the roof because of the load on there with all the snow. And that's probably what has caused some of the damage to the membrane roof, is you've got shovels up there digging into it.
Valid point. Gentlemen?
I mean, again, my only concern really going forward is we've got quite a bit of money on the warrant right here, and without knowing, especially with the water line for the TIP project, temporary easements, we've got a lot of, money we'll be spending, debt we'll be incurring by the time November rolls around. So I'd just like to hold back a little, that's my thinking. I'd like to hold back a little bit to, again, we'll have a better idea what free cash looks like, we'll have a much better idea what new growth money looks like. It'll give us a better position, because once again, we could be in a situation where if that grant money doesn't come in from the state, we may not have the money to fix the roof anyways. I don't, that's just my
I
thing.
look at it, we have sizable debt that will be coming off in the next 2 years, and I don't look at debt as evil. Debt is managing your budget. I don't know what the amount is, but I know it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt that will be coming off in the next few years in our obligations. So,
2021, it's about $380,000 by 2021.
annualized, right.
And to have in the fall, in November, we want to have an accurate capital plan. That's gonna be something that we're gonna be working on to make sure our assets and when they need to be replaced and how much they're gonna be costing to replace. You can't have that accurate. Right now, I think we have $100,000 in for the roof. We don't know if that's accurate or when it needs to be done. So if you wanna have accurate and up-to-date information, this is one way to get it as well.
Well, from my position, I'm a proponent. Gentlemen?
I support it.
Okay?
All right.
All right, we'll take a vote on the warrant article, but it's accepted at this point that 2 members of the board support the action. Article 25 is to accept 2 parcels of land, and this is land from the Harvey J. Trask Trust. And anybody that's lived in town for a while knew Harvey and knew that his heart was in this town, and so he bequeathed this land to the town, and it stipulates for recreational use, if not for educational facility. Certainly, it is the intent of the town for recreational use where there is a need for that, based upon hearing from the Recreation Commission and the director last week. There are many instances where they could use more fields and facility for the demand, so. Article 26 is an amendment to the Personnel Bylaw. This is sponsored by the Personnel Board. It's relative to language specifically for screening, physicals, medical evaluations, and bonuses and longevity. Article 27 is to see if the town will accept the public ways of Blueberry Lane and Dogwood Drive, which are 2 new streets in Upton. That's standard practice. Again, this is sponsored by the Planning Board. It needs to be approved by them and meet all the conditions of the town before it's brought forward. And Article 28 is considered somewhat of a catch-all.
This is the new one.
This is a catch-all, and this allows the town, because we will be posting the warrant, should needs arise, that we are able to address funding requirements within that article. And it's a safety net. So we don't know what could come up just before the town meeting, but if we don't act on it, then it's delayed until the October town meeting, and sometimes that creates problems for efficiency. Okay, that is it. Did I miss anything, Derek? Okay, gentlemen, are there any questions you have relative to this warrant?
I have none.
Gary? Okay, I would accept motion to accept the warrant as submitted tonight with the approvals of the board. Yes,
I just, if I could amend that, based upon any minor editorial and legal changes. This is gonna go to KP for
Okay.
legal, one last legal.
clearly stated. Yep. Okay. Gary, please.
Do we still need to open it for, or are we already
We're all set,
Okay.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the warrant as written, except for financial or legal changes.
Second the motion.
And that's unanimous action of the board. The warrant will be posted by what date, please?
The
April?
warrant will be posted.
It has to go to print on the 13th, so.
The 13th.
Yeah.
It's going to print on the 13th, we'll have the FinCom report with the warrant in there on the 20th, available on the 20th. We will post it between the 20th and the 7 days before the meeting.
Okay. Also, to disseminate more information, as you know, we've changed the processes in town government where the annual town meeting precedes the election. And it was usually at the election where people would pick up their town reports and/or the finance committee report, which is being printed, as well as warrants. That process has changed. It's the town's procedure right now that, and I'll ask the town manager to ad-lib anything beyond that, but it's the town's position right now that it will be actively posted on the website for dissemination. There will be printed copies, I believe 500 copies are being printed, or 300 copies are being printed for citizens. They can pick them up at the town hall or wherever, and we will do our best to extend the information. Can I ask, did the question on printing it, a notification or a referral in the town crier ever come up, or that was passed on? I don't know where that went.
Yeah, no, I
We're
think
considering putting-
we're gonna put in the town crier still?
Yeah, there's going to be a block ad.
Or notice, right, notice, right.
Yeah.
We're going to put a notice in the town crier for on the April 20th edition that the printed copies are available to be picked up.
Yes, as well as on the website that they can be found. So we are doing our best to spread this, to make this information available to all citizens. As any citizen that's relatively active will find that most all town processes are on the town website anyway, relative to all meetings, minutes, agendas, and so forth. So we just hope that all citizens take advantage of this and seek this information. Again, there is a bit of a, I'll call it a plea here for people for the annual town meeting. Last year, less than 0.5% of our voters showed up. You're voting $26 million, and if you care about your tax rate, there is your chance to speak. And if you don't show up, you really don't have a claim to complain about your tax rate because you did not participate. And I've heard it for 30 years, and I keep preaching it. The citizens are the only ones that expend money for the town other than the trust funds, which are under the office of the Board of Selectmen. They do not impact your taxes. So the citizens, every spend that's made has to be approved by the citizens in one form or another. So please come out and vote. I'm sorry, the date of the town meeting, to be specific, is?
May 3rd.
May 3rd. Okay, and please, we encourage everybody to come participate in that government. So that's that. Do we have anything else, gentlemen?
No, sir.
I do not.
Okay, to accept the motion to go into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30, Section 29B, exception number 3 for collective bargaining.
Gary Dardy, aye.
Steve Metelli and I.
Robert Fleming, aye. We're in executive session. We will